Welcome back. And so from press freedom, let's check on the education space and look at the efficacy of the reforms championed by this administration under the current Ministry of Education. And joining us, of course, is the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, who's right there in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you.
And we're going to start with what seems to be the big concern on the front pages this morning. Honorable Minister, 1.5 million candidates score below 200 in 2025 UTME. And so this speaks to the learning outcomes at the senior secondary school level. What are your thoughts, Honorable Minister?
Thank you so much. That's a big concern, and it's a reflection of exams being done the proper way. JAM conducts its exam using computer-based testing. They've put in so much security in place that fraud or cheating has been completely eliminated. Now, we don't have the same in other exams like WAEC and NECO. And that's why, if you followed us at the Ministry of Education, immediately after we got in there, well over 6 months ago, we did a complete diagnostic of our exams, the way exams are conducted in the country. I set up a committee to look into it, and I'm getting the result of the committee, probably the report from the committee in the next few days. But basically, what we need to do is to institute computer-based testing for WAEC and NECO, as well as NAPTEC and NBRS exams. And I'm happy to report to the nation that by November of this year, WAEC and NECO will migrate their exams to computer-based testing. We have to use technology to fight this fraud. We have a lot of centers called miracle centers. It's not acceptable. So what you're seeing now, people cheat to the secondary school exam system, WAEC and NECO, and then they now go to do JAM, where they cannot cheat. And that's the reflection of what we're seeing today. It's sad. And the more important thing about cheating is that you disincentivize the hardworking students. If I were a student now, I'm reading for an exam for WAEC or NECO, and I realize that some of my other colleagues already have the questions. Do you think I'll read? No, I'll join them. So the ones that are good, you're going to make them bad. And that's what we have to stop completely. Zero tolerance to exam malpractices in our country. And by the year 2027, all exams will be fully CBT, WAEC, NECO, NBRS, and NAPTEC.
Honorable Minister, let's diagnose this problem even further. 70% or 77 or so percent of those numbers of people that sat is very, very alarming. Literally should put everybody on their toes. So from your diagnosis or what you've seen, is this a question of strict vigilance to catch people that are cheating, or students are no longer learning in that sense? And whichever it is you choose, I think these are the two issues here. Strict vigilance, perhaps, is maybe you're rating the agency, managing the exam properly. But are we concerned about the fact that students are not learning anymore? Perhaps there's not enough motivation. Is that something you're also looking into?
Yes, we're looking into everything. And I'll tell you, we've done so much to improve quality of teaching using every forms of way, including technology, now using online classes, to our children in school, from primary, GSS, senior secondary school. But a pervasive thing here is the rampant cheating that goes on in the high school exam system. And I don't mind laundering our own dirty linen in public, but that's how we have to improve our system. The pervasive cheating in JAM, not JAM. JAM is clean exam now, almost 100% fraud-free. The pervasive cheating in NECO and WAEC, it's what's causing this thing, this mess that we're in. When you allow these questions to leak, there's complete lack of motivation for even the students that want to do the right thing. And we have a lot of our young citizens. They're very energetic, they're very productive, they're smart. It's in their DNA to do well. But it's the environment they find themselves. And that's what we're determined to stop. And we've made quick progress in stopping this. And we're going to be very forceful about this because we have a youthful population that we're training to be useful, to deliver to the country and to the world at large. So we can't afford for this pervasiveness to continue in our education system. And that's why we're frontally tackling these major menace in our in the way our exams are conducted. I've had multiple meetings with registrars of JAM, registrar of WAEC and NECO, as well as MBRAS and NAPTEP. And they're all in sync. As I said earlier, November WAEC and WAEC and NECO exam will be done via CBT. There's no going back on that.
And indeed, exam malpractice is a major issue. We've heard cases that even parents or, guardians willingly register the students at centers where they will be able to perpetrate exam malpractice. So yes, that is indeed a case. But the major contributor, some would say, is the education system itself. And yes, by all means, go after exam malpractice. Let's bring it to a halt or a considerable, low. But the education system itself is a big issue. What kind of education are these students getting? Honorable Minister, I'll tell you that there are some communities, some schools that the students have not had access to a computer. The first time they usually get access to it is when they want to write JAM in this country today in 2025. So you have to take public-spirited individuals to build computer centers for those students who at least have some sort of exposure to computers before they're able to write the CBT. And that speaks to lack of infrastructure in schools. What does the curriculum look like, the teaching structure? Are we really teaching the children where they are, or we're just forcing education on them? A lot of people will tell you they hated subject because of the way the teachers taught them, the manner, in which the classrooms were. So are we really looking at this holistically? Perhaps you speak to us as to what you're doing to ensure that the education system itself is overhauled.
Yeah, we're looking at it holistically, and we're overhauling, and we've overhauled several things. I wanted to just be very narrow here to address these issues, a big issue of exam malpractices, and then you brought out several things, the entire ecosystem in the way exams, in the way the cheating that happened in our exam system. I'll talk a little bit about that. But let me talk about what we're doing in the education system. We've revamped the curriculum of our GSS, and that's the primary school curriculum and junior secondary school curriculum. We've infused 13 trades into those curriculum. And then these will take effect in September of this year. Like, things are changing. Education is changing by the day, by the minute, and we have to catch up. We're increasing the digital literacy in the country. The president has mandated by the year 2030, we should move 50 million more Nigerians should be digital literate. So we're doing a lot in that areas. And also, we're refurbishing our schools. Beyond improving infrastructures, we're also delivering more instructional materials to our students. UBEC is completely being reformed to deliver what we want in a foundational level. We're moving more from just exam-based testing into competency testing, professional testing, so, and also other forms of using other forms of technology. We're infusing AI, artificial intelligence, in our education system. So a lot is being done to continue to improve the quality of our education system. Are we there yet? No, but we've made tremendous progress in these areas. And as we continue to do that, we're also motivating our children. We're also teaching. We're also retraining our teachers. If you look at our 6-point agenda, which I'll just breeze through because we don't have that much time today. We have priority number 1, expansive technical vocational education and training, which we will launch that in the next few weeks. A second focus area is our expansive STEM education, expanding STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences, STEM with 2 M. Number 3, reducing the burden of out-of-school children, which we've instituted several interventions and we're seeing results in those areas. Number 4, girl child education. We're focusing on girls child education. We've launched the Lumina program that the Honourable Minister of State is leading, and the other things that are beneath that we have an entire agenda to reduce the number of girl child that are out of school. We have this big World Bank credit that we're using, AGIA, Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment. We had the phase 1 that we had 7 states, and now the second phase we had it under the 11 more states. So there are 18 states benefiting from that. We're getting good results from AGIA, and the responses from our governors, they've been very, very, they're doing well on this. Our governors at the subnational level, our governors are on top of this. They're happy with the AGI program, and I'll be happy to inform the nation that our the First Lady of the Federation, Her Excellency, Senator Oluwemi Tinubu, will be launching the second phase, the additional financing on Children's Day, which I believe is May 27th. Then our 5th priority area is data and digitalization. We can't move if we don't if we don't start using data to look at where our problems are, intervene, monitor outcomes. So we have an expansive data and digitalization plan that we've christened NEDI, Nigeria Education Data Initiative. We've engaged one of the top 5 international consultants in the international consulting firm to support our agenda here. And I'm hoping, and we plan to deploy the first dashboard. With this NEDI program, all our educational data will be on one platform. From the foundational level to our tertiary education level will be on one platform. We can begin to analyze and aggregate and disaggregate this data and see where we're failing and where we need to intervene, and where we need to see our outcome. And of course, number 5 of our agenda is, number 6 is quality assurance. We need to quality assure the education we're giving our children, and also the quality of teachers that are giving this education to our children. We have a big agenda to change the way we're doing teacher professional development. From just giving money, lump sum of money to SUBEB, we're moving away. We're going to use technology. We'll get our teachers to go online, take a review, do their hello. I think I lost you. We're going to get our teachers. We're going to get our teachers to now use online training and do the exams. And once they pass those exams, we will directly incentivize them with paying them some money for doing their professional training. So that would happen from the beginning of this year. I've quickly browsed through what we're doing to improve the quality of education in the country. We have a President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that believes so much in human capital development. And when you talk about human capital development, what are you talking about? Education is the center point, health and social protection. Right. This president has given us so much support that we need to improve the quality of our education. If you give me a few minutes, I want to talk about the problems, the problem in the cheating in the exam system. But if you want me to stop, I'll stop.
Okay, 60 seconds to quickly cover the cheating aspect.
Okay, thank you so much for your graciousness here. You see, with the entire ecosystem in cheating, it involves the parents, students, teachers, and the invigilators. And we're going to break that vicious cycle. And the easiest and quickest way to break that vicious cycle is to use technology. And that's why we will migrate to CBT for these exams. The parents are involved, students are involved, teachers are involved, and invigilators are involved as well. And as I told you earlier, with the committee that I set up to do a comprehensive diagnostic review and come up with robust recommendation. That committee is led by Professor Loyede, the Registrar of JAM. I'm awaiting their report, which I should get this week. And we will implement every single detail, every single recommendation in that report that will ensure that our exams are free and fair.
All right. The agenda that you've outlined, coupled with the committee that you've put in place, I guess there must be a time frame to measure assessment. Otherwise, the learning outcomes, which you have seen in the result of JAM, may just be, what is the result of the ongoing reforms under your ministry, and until the agenda begins to yield result, we may not know how effective it is to improve learning outcomes. My next port of call is what you touched on briefly, which would be out-of-school children. The UNICEF figures currently put it at 18.6 million, being 1 in 3 Nigerian child is out of school. There is an Alamajiri Commission under your ministry that is supposed to go round and mop up children that are out of school. I wonder how effective that has been, because even in our own domain here, we see children, mostly of northern extraction, who are across the street begging, and they just may dot the landscape across the streets of the Federation. What is the mechanism that your ministry is using to monitor the efficacy of the work of the Al-Majiri Commission? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, there is also the non-formal education approach that the Commission is deploying to educate those that it's able to take out of the streets. Wouldn't that defeat the purpose of education itself, which is to give these children formal education that will equip them for the future?
Thank you. Very good question. Now, we depending on the data you're looking at, you're talking about the total number of out-of-school children. You just quoted 18.5 million people, and then children out of school, and 15 million. We have the data we're using is 15 million. But I can tell you, report to you today, the number of our out-of-school children is going down. Sorry, and I'll tell you what we've done. Now, this is the whole essence of data. Before we came into the ministry, we have a lot of disparate data. And we're now we're using data that international organizations are quoting to us. And that's why we've moved so quickly to start getting our own data. Because if we don't have our own data that we can validate and trust, we cannot even begin to measure, to monitor the efficacies of our intervention. We now have a Major and Out-of-School Commission, and this commission, the people that designed this law, I'll give them all the credit here. They designed this commission not only as a regulatory commission, but a commission that can also operate school. We have a very active executive secretary of the commission who was also an Amajiri himself. We rolled out several interventions, and we're moving kids out from the street into school. We've done some intervention in FCT. We moved almost 30,000 children from the street to our school system. We're doing mapping of where these Amajiri schools are, where the Shanghai schools are. And as we continue to do this, I've also set up a high ministerial committee so that we're all working, every single agency that is dealing with out of school children. We have a weekly meeting, we have a monthly ministerial meeting, and we have a technical working group that meets so often. We've moved where these agencies include UBEC, Amajiri Commission, Mass Mobilization Commission, and the Nomadic Education. We've taken out the silo, the fragmentation that was previously existing in our system. We're now coordinating better. We've also, as we do this, we're directing more funding from UBEC to Amajiri Commission, to Nomadic Commission, and the Mass Education Commission. And this funding is just not giving them money that they'll just use without being monitored. Now, we've linked this to DLIs, delivery linked indicators. We've given them targets of what they need to meet, and we're giving them funding as they meet those targets. We also have the World Bank credit that just got approved, a $550 million credit for us for the Hope Basic Education. Hope means human opportunity for prosperity and equity. Equity. What we're going to do, a lot of this money will go to funding and strategy to reduce out-of-school children. And as we move these kids from the street into school, you said the non-formal sector. What we're doing is we're bringing numeracy, literacy to these kids. And beyond that, we're now giving them vocational skills so that as they go through this training and they leave, they have vocational skills. Not all our kids will get to the point of going to polytechnics, colleges of education, or universities. But we want them to have good education, at least complete the foundational level, which is 9 years compulsory education. We're also working to expand that 9 years compulsory education to 12 years compulsory education to meet what obtains in other society. So this, we have clear agenda, very directional, very longitudinal on how we're tackling these menace of the current menace, unenviable position that we find ourselves as having the second highest population of out-of-school children. We need to keep our children in school. And that's what the president has mandated us to do, and we're doing exactly that. We've seen a reduction in number of kids that are out of school based on our interventions. And as I promise you, the numbers will continue to go down.
Honourable Minister, if we have time, we'll come back to the role of the subnationals, because at the national level, federal level, a stronger on policy direction and perhaps funding, but the real execution has to be the subnational. But I don't want us to finish this conversation without talking about the tertiary institution, especially the issue around NEL Fund. NEL Fund is seen as the poster child of this administration's success story in that sense. And we've had opportunity to speak to the managing director and all of that until that report by the ICPC came out, and then the back and forth over whether there were discrepancies and all of that. And we understand that there are deductions from the school, not to the knowledge of the students. There are so many angles to the story. So my question, I think, is what exactly is going on with the NEL Fund issue? What have you heard from the institutions themselves? What should we be expecting as a final report as far as that issue is concerned? Do you think there's corruption going on, or what exactly is happening?
Thank you so much. There's really, okay, let me address this clear. NEL Fund reports to me, so I've taken briefs from everybody. And this morning, after this, my interview with you, I'll be meeting with the vice chancellors of all the universities that were reported to have been affected by this news about NEL Fund, some money not going to the right place. We have to be thankful to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for, in his wisdom, for quickly moving to set up NEL Fund. NEL Fund is delivering to our children. They're benefiting from it. It's opening access to education. Well over 500,000 students are benefiting. It's a legacy intervention, and we want to continue to expand this access. Now, as you know, this administration and my ministry has zero tolerance for fraud, for corruption. But there's been a lot of sensationalization in the news on NEL Fund in the last few days. ICPC, the first report they released, are saying almost 70 billion of the 100 billion that was released to NEL Fund was not used to service children education. That report, they retracted it. It wasn't. ICPC chairman is a man of high integrity and credibility. I don't know how that report came out, but they retracted that report. So that's not the case. And it's not, I would not say there were anomalies that happened, but not case of obvious looting of government money. What happened here was that NEL Fund, there are two ways in which NEL Fund fund a loan system. They give monthly stipend to students, about 20,000, gets paid directly to their account. Then the student fees. We don't have tuition in a tertiary institution. The fees ranging from accommodation and other kind of fees, those fees get paid directly to the universities. What should happen is that as soon as the universities get those fees, they should notify the students that NEFund has paid your fee. The ones that have paid, the students that have paid, should be refunded, and there should have been a timeline for them to get the refund. The ones that have not paid those fees, they should notify them that, okay, NEFund has paid your fees, you don't need to pay. But what we're seeing is that these fees sometimes run into hundreds of millions of naira, get paid to the universities. They don't notify the students. The students are they are anxious that their fees have not been paid, and there's no connection. They're not, even within the university, the tertiary education system, they're not talking to one another. So some of these students are not allowed to go to classes, to attend their classes, and they keep calling NEFund that, oh, you haven't paid, but NEFund said we've paid. And that's why we've quickly set up guidelines, which we'll be discussing with the universities and releasing today. I've reviewed those guidelines. We will now give timeline on when, from reporting timelines, on when university gets any fee from NEFund, the duration of time they need to inform the student, and the students that have paid, when they need to pay them back. The ones that haven't paid, they need to let them know that your fee has been paid, you have to go you're allowed to go to classes. So that's what we're doing. It's not a case of people just looting. That was exactly what happened, and I want Nigerians to really, I'm clarifying this to Nigerians. It wasn't a case that 100 billion got released to NEFund, 100 billion of NEFund money, 70 billion was looted. Absolutely not. That would not happen. And there's not even the process that we have now, there's no mechanism for that to ever happen. What happened is that there was some late delay reporting from the universities, which they should have done. And that's why we keep clamoring for use of technology. We are moving, we're going to mandate, as part of our Nigeria Education Data Initiative, right, we would build platform for our universities as well, for them to have good reporting platform as well. As you can see, if you've been following us just a few weeks ago, I had to direct the universities, all our tertiary education, to start reporting some simple basic data. The number of students, undergraduate and postgraduate, their cost, their budgetary allocation from personnel overhead costs, their TED fund, annual allocation, and what they're doing. We have, it's a bit bothersome that our institutions that should be biggest adopters of technology, they're not using technology as it should be, but we're working closely with them, and we're going to ensure that everybody starts using technology so that we can improve the way we do things in the country, more so in the educational system.
Well, Honorable Minister, it's great to hear these things, but that's not to say if there's any body, any stakeholder found wanting when it comes to the NEFund fund, you'd let us know. Ideally, and this will be done transparently. So we'll be following up on this. As you said, you will handle this. But I want you to speak to the bilateral education agreement, the scholarship bit, which you suspended recently. And it's quite interesting because yesterday the president also announced this Nigeria First policy. Now, I know it has to do with goods produced in Nigeria, that there's no need importing as far as it's produced in Nigeria, but also education that is offered in Nigeria. Right, you find out that most times people would rather go out of a country to purchase that education. So is this in line with that? What exactly is going on with this bilateral education agreement and the drive to also ensure that we patronize made in Nigeria education?
Yeah, I'll talk about the bilateral education agreement in a minute, but we have a president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is totally in sync with regard to best standard. This president is moving our country forward on the path of sustainability. We can see all the amazing improvement we're seeing in our macroeconomic indicators and our microeconomic indicators. Look, 15 months ago from where we are now, the country is in a better position. I'm just imploring Nigerians to be patient. We have a president that is prepared. This is one time that we have a president that prepared for this job. And we're seeing all the interventions. Nigeria is a better country today. I would personally thank Mr. President for all his hard work and his focus, his direction in ensuring that every single Nigerian gets a high qualitative life. Thank you, Mr. President. But now, when you talk about in sync, when you have leader, I call the president is a motivator in chief. He motivates every one of us and is giving us direction and mandate on what needs to be done. We have, for a change, for the first time in the country, we have a one government approach. All agencies are talking to one another, all ministries are talking to one another. Now, let me tell you about this bilateral education agreement. It's just very disturbing. And I'll tell you, my first few weeks at the Ministry of Education, they brought a memo to me about just about 60 students going to Morocco on this bilateral education agreement. And it was a total budget of 640 million naira. And I said, why would we spend 640 million naira just for travel alone and other things, to send 60 students to Morocco to study courses that we have in the country? But my staff are there convinced me that, you know, Mr. Minister, we've offered these students admission and we can't renege on it. Yes, we're a government that keeps our promises. So I signed it, everybody went. But it just didn't sit well with me. This year we have budget of 9 billion for bilateral education agreement scholarships. Now, I did a deep review of the courses that our citizens were being sent out to this country to study. Yeah. And I was shocked to find that students are being sent, are given scholarship to go to Algeria, a French-speaking country, for our citizens to go study English. I felt this was not good use of public money. The entire courses that our students go out to study, sometimes psychology, physiology, sociology, all those courses, math, they are all available here. We need to build capacity in the education system. The education they get is even more of higher quality than the countries they go to. So, for good use of public funds, resources of the country, in clear conscience, myself and the Minister of State for Education, as well as PAM Secretary, we met and decided that this wasn't the best use of government funds. That was why we moved to cancel these bilateral education agreement scholarships. What we will do, though, the students that are currently there, we will continue to meet our own obligations to them till they finish their courses. We've also indicated that parents that want to continue to send their kids to these schools, they're free to do it at their own expense. Also, these bilateral education agreement countries, the countries that are involved, I think we have about almost 11 of those countries, have written to them that if they want to continue to offer scholarships to our citizens, that's fine. But it has to be at zero cost to the federal government of Nigeria. We need to be very fair. We need to be fair to students that are studying in the country. We shouldn't be using public funds the way it should not be used.
All right. Honourable Minister, you clearly have a job of work, and if those sacrifices are what will be required, to free up funds for other investment and to end education tourism, it looks like it will be worthwhile. Clearly, there are other areas that we have not touched on, and we hope that we'll have you back to provide more clarification on those areas. We must thank you very much. We've been talking with the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
And from here, we move on to another aspect of education, which is also very critical as we continue to ask, as far as artificial intelligence is concerned, is Nigeria playing catch-up, or there is enough innovation to take us around all of the areas that need that intervention? Stay with us for this conversation. We'll be right back.